Boulevard in a 101.
You guys are hot.
Howard Balzer, we're back with him on the Right Twitter guest line here on Fox Sports 910 for a few minutes as we close it out here at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. We were just talking about Clayton Tune and Joshua Dobbs, and I just would love to get your opinion on if you go with one or the other, would you be open to bringing in the other if the score is pretty much out of whack, just to give them some reps?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. And just because whoever starts game one doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the guy that starts every game until Kyler Murray returns. So I think this group is going to be open to doing just about anything. So I definitely think that, that could obviously be a possibility. And certainly, with everything around the quarterback, the offensive line now, as I was starting to say before we had the issues, I mean, heck, they've got 10 offensive linemen on the roster right now, and 4 they just picked up on waivers this week. And so you look at that and you say, who's going to be, aside from Kelvin Beachum, who are going to be the backups to the starters in week one if something would happen to one of those guys? It's just bizarre. In a lot of ways, it's bizarre the way this roster is being constructed, but they say they have a plan and they're doing what's best for the team. And I guess in the long run and in the short term, we'll find out if that's true.
Also, Howard, it's interesting. Like all 8 of the draft picks are still on the team now. Garrett Williams is on the non-football injury, which will be eligible after the 4th game. And then Gaines, unfortunately, went on the IR. But you look at the balance of them, you've got 2 of them starting and the rest of them in a backup situation, which is very rare for any NFL team to have all of their draft picks still on the team, whether they're hurt or not.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And I think that, how much of what's going on is just looking to shed guys. Obviously there still are players that were here prior to this season, but certainly seems when they're going to go. And I've always wondered, not just with the Cardinals, with all teams, you have guys that you've worked with from, in April and May and June and July and training camp, and you've worked with them and all that. And then all of a sudden you see some name on the waiver wire that you have no idea how they're going to fit with your team. And then you bring those guys in and you cut guys that were already on the 53-man roster, players you've worked with. And I mean, heck, yesterday, Jonathan Gannon was asked about the 3 undrafted free agents that were on the roster on Tuesday, including DeMercado and Blake Whiteheart and Daniel Arias at wide receiver. And he said, character guys, they're ascending, looking forward to working with them. He said that a half hour before practice started, and 2 of them weren't even out there because they knew they were going to cut them because of the guys that were arriving on waivers. I mean, they've now in 2 days claimed 7 guys on waivers from other teams, and that's an unheard of number in the NFL.
I think the other thing, too, it's interesting to hear Zach Ertz talk yesterday about Joshua Dobbs and how he came in the huddle and he rattled off as he'd been there the entire training camp with the play call, the adjustments, all of this, all of that. And Ertz is like, well, what is he, rocket scientist? Or he's actually an aeronautical engineer degree. But, I mean, he just as if the guy had been there, the whole time. And that seemed from that locker room or that huddle to be very impressive for those young guys with the young rookie that's been there the entire camp.
Yeah, well, the one thing that attracted them was that he was in Cleveland last year, where Drew Petzing was as the quarterback coach, and Israel Wolfork was as a coaching fellow who worked with the quarterback. So he's familiar with the system that Petzing has brought in here. Knowing the system and knowing the calls is a whole lot different than being on the same page with receivers. And the other part of it is that, the Cardinals, I think one of the things about this is they could have had him in March. They could have signed him in March. They were interested, but all reports are he stayed with Cleveland because the Cardinals weren't offering him enough money. Mm-hmm. And all he signed with Cleveland was 1 year for $2 million. And so, and let's remember too, last year when he was in Cleveland, when Deshaun Watson came back from his suspension, they cut him and kept Kellen Mond, who was released this year. And so, it's not as if, you're getting a guy, he's been in the league since 2017, but he's only started 2 games and has only played in 8 and has 85 pass attempts. So the bar is being set here pretty low, and I hope that the expectations aren't too high for what people are potentially going to expect of this guy if he ends up being the starter when the season starts. And what is it now? 10 days?
Yep,
10 days from now.
Howard, appreciate you jumping back on with us, man. We appreciate it. We'll catch up with you next week. Have a great weekend.